A hush had fallen over the Tower of the Hand, that broad-shouldered keep of red stone whose narrow windows gazed upon the heart of kings landing the way a wary falcon watched a field of mice. Dawn stole in behind the hills beyond the Blackwater, pale and cool, stirring motes of dust that drifted like ghost gnats through the high-ceilinged solar. Below, the warren of streets still lay in half-slumber. Bakers stoking ovens, sailors rubbing sleep from their eyes, the first bell of the great September of Baelor tolling a soft reminder that gods were ever wakeful. But up here, in the hush, the Lord of the Arryn opened his eyes. They felt grainy, as if sand had been poured beneath his lids. His skull throbbed in slow, tide-like pulses, and his breath came ragged. Even so, Jon Arryn recognized the chamber, the solar he had chosen for its sea breeze and for the eastern light that gilded the tapestries of House Arryn with morning glory. He felt its warmth now, faint upon his sick damp skin. A wheeze rasped out of him. "Water," he croaked, though the words scarcely escaped more than a stir of lip and tongue. Yet Maester Coleman, small, owlish, gray-haired, was already leaning close, a cup in one hand, another hand gentle at Jon's nape. Bitter willow bark and mint kissed Jon's tongue. He swallowed with an effort that felt like dragging a millstone down his gullet. "Easy, my lord," Coleman murmured. "You came close to the stranger's gate, but the mother turned you aside. Rest, rest." The word flared in his mind like a brand, but Jon Arryn grasped it only to cast it away. No, too much rested already. Secrets, whispers, dangerous truths. If he rested again, even a little, he might never wake a second time. And if that happened, the realm would march to ruin under a crown of quiet lies. He groped for the maester's wrist, found it thin beneath his fingers. "Pycelle," Jon rasped. "Fetch him." Coleman hesitated. "Grand Maester was sent for in the night, my lord. He examined you. He will come again at sunrise." That would do. Jon sank back against linen pillows and let his eyes drift. Not to sleep, heaven forbid, but to remember. He remembered Lisa's pale, frightened face the night before he took ill. The way she pressed a trembling hand to her belly, though their babe had been weaned half a year. He remembered her whispers, "You must leave court, husband. They speak of war in the west, and the queen's men look at you as a butcher eyes a goat. Come home to the Arryn, where our friends will shield us." He remembered brushing her cheek and promising, "Soon, sweetling, I have work yet, work for Robert and for the realm." And then the fever took him, so sudden that he scarcely recalled collapse, only darkness that reeked of earth, poison. The thought did not alarm him now. It settled in his mind like an old companion. He had suspected it before the fever fully set its claws, for the pain that racked him was no common flux nor winter chill. Someone wanted him silent. And in King's Landing, whenever a silence was wanted, one soon found itself arranged. Footsteps approached. Robe hems whispered. Jon's eyelids fluttered apart. Grand Maester Pycelle strode inside with ponderous dignity, white beard sweeping the chain that marked him as a healer, a scholar, a counselor of kings. The heavy link of gold marked him as the crown's servant. The silver of healing glimmered near a link of dark iron for secrets. Jon had never forgotten that. "My lord Arryn," Pycelle intoned, voice thick with practiced sorrow. "Your strength returns. Praise be the Seven." Jon motioned for Coleman to step aside. When the younger Maester hesitated, Pycelle smiled beneficently. "Maester Coleman, prepare another draught of nettle tea with honey. Lord Arryn will need it." Coleman bowed himself out. Pycelle seated himself, joints creaking. He took Jon's clammy hand between both of his own, a gesture of warmth belied by how cold Jon felt. "You must not tax yourself. The Queen sends prayers." Even his grace sat vigil for a time, though he was needed at council. "I thank them," Jon said, voice a rasp. "Yet I will not tarry in bed. I must speak with Robert today." "Your lungs still labor," Pycelle cautioned. Jon forced breath deeper. "They will have to serve." He searched the old man's eyes, finding within them the film of concern, and something beneath as ever, a gardener's calm appraisal of whether a flower might still bloom or should be pruned. Jon knew Pycelle's allegiance lay first with House Lannister. Age had not dulled that golden tether. Thus every word must be measured. "I would break my fast with the king," Jon said. "Send a page to arrange it, I beg you." Pycelle stroked his beard. "I shall see it done. Yet before that, a concern weighs upon me. Your lordship's fever was peculiar in its onset. Too swift, too fierce. I suspect a contagion, perhaps contracted in Flea Bottom. These city miasmas." Jon squeezed the maester's hand, feeble yet insistent. "Not miasma, poison, and we both know it." Pycelle's lids flickered. "I would not think." "Think it," Jon commanded, "for I shall, and I will learn whose hand mixed the potion." It was a gamble, but he saw the ripple behind the old man's placid gaze. Knowledge there, or fear, or both. Good. Let Pycelle stew in that uncertainty. He would speak of it to the queen soon enough, and Cersei Lannister's eyes might widen or narrow. Coleman returned and forced a steaming cup into Jon's grasp. Bitter nettles scalded his throat, clearing phlegm and fog. Strength crept back like sunrise over frost. By mid-morning, Ser Vardys Egen, captain of the Hands Guard, arrived with a litter borne by 4 blonde Lannister men-at-arms. Robert's decree that Jon be carried in comfort. Jon allowed himself to be carried, though every jostle jarred his ribs. A small price. He kept his eyes open, studying faces as they passed. Gold cloaks who flinched at his scrutiny, scraggly Sellswords lounging at the base of the tower, and within the red keep's yard a lean shadow leaning upon a spear, Janos Slint, captain of the city watch, speaking in hushed tones to a pale man whose hood concealed most of his face. Vardys noticed Jon's gaze. "Some new Sellswords his grace hired to chase Myrish smugglers," the captain murmured. "The hooded ones a Bravosi, they claim." Jon filed the image away. Inside Maegor's holdfast, the litter halted. A pair of crimson doors, flanked by golden lions wrought in iron, swung inward to reveal the queen's ballroom. It was here, amid pillars carved like intertwined roses, that King Robert liked to dine apart from the bustle of the small council. Candled chandeliers bathed the room in mellow light. Trenchers of brown bread, wheels of cheese, bowls of honeyed figs, and cold roast boar lined a long table of polished weirwood. Robert Baratheon sat at its head, one leg thrown across the other, goblet in fist. Time had puffed his cheeks and thickened his neck, yet in his blue eyes still danced the reckless laughter of the rebel Lord Jon had fostered. Beside him stood Lord Renly, trimming a figure. Cersei Lannister reclined opposite, gold hair falling like a banner down her shoulder, emerald eyes narrowed with cat-like interest. "7 hells, Jon," Robert bellowed, rising. "They told me you'd not see moonrise, and now here you are. Maester, parch him with potions no more. Wine is what heals a man." Jon managed to smile and motioned the king back. With Vardys' help, he eased into a seat 3 chairs down. Cersei studied him. "How strong is the hand who stands between a realm and chaos?" she wondered aloud. "Strong enough," Jon rasped. "Else chaos would have devoured us long ago." Renly laughed lightly, as though to dispel tension. "Let us toast Lord Jon's indomitable spirit." Goblets were filled. Jon sipped, careful. The arbor red tasted of plum and oak, no hint of almond, no burnt tang. Yet he sampled only a drop, then set the cup aside. "Food," Robert declared. "Coleman says you've eaten little." "I will," Jon said. "But first, a matter of grave import." Robert frowned at the stern note. "Not now, old friend. Give yourself a day." Jon's hand trembled upon the table. "I may not have a day, your grace. Hear me while my tongue can still shape words." Robert searched his face. At length he nodded. He gestured for Renly and Cersei to remain, but waved away a pair of singers loitering near the dais. Jon fixed his gaze upon the king. "I have discovered the reason your son Bran fell from that tower in Winterfell." A hush. Cersei's goblet paused halfway to her lips. Robert's brow furrowed. "Jon, that was a child's misadventure." No, Jon forced each word. The boy saw something he was never meant to see. I do not yet know what, but I suspect it. And the attempt on his life that followed. Those events tie to King's Landing, not Winterfell. Cersei set her goblet down, fingers steady. These are wild accusations forged from fever dreams. Jon turned to her. My lady, I accuse no one, not yet. But I beg his grace's leave to question those who attended you on your journey north. Robert's face mottled pink. Wine had never bled quickly from him. Question whom you like, but do it quietly. I'll not have my court roiled by whispers of murder. Jon inclined his head. As you command. Cersei's smile flicked like a dagger drawn and sheathed. My lord of the Arryn, you strain yourself. Rumor can poison hearts as surely as any vial. Rumor Jon allowed. But truth cures. He felt sweat bead at his temple. The effort of speech sapped him, yet he pressed on. I would also speak with Ser Jaime. There are financial matters of the Kingsguard that require clarification. Cersei's lashes veiled her eyes. My brother attends to his grace's treasury today, I fear. Robert barked a laugh. Ser Jaime and coin? Best keep a tight purse if you invite him to count. He drained half a goblet. Still, I'll send for him. Cersei rose fluid as pouring honey. Let me fetch him, husband. He will heed his sister faster than any page boy. Robert waved indulgently. Off with you, then. She dipped a curtsy, silk whispering, and glided from the hall. Jon watched her go, feeling each heartbeat as if a smith struck an anvil in his chest. When she vanished, Robert leaned across the table. What game is this? No game, Jon whispered. Robert, my king, I fear your children are. The words caught. Sweat stung his eyes. Not yet, he told himself. Evidence first. He must secure Stannis's testimony, the ledgers, the truth of who fathered Joffrey, Myrcella, Tommen. But he felt the sands in his hourglass dwindling to the final grains. I fear, he amended. They are in danger. I work to shield them. Robert grunted. Shielders everywhere. Meanwhile I rot on a throne of dull ironwork while the realm fattens like a sow. Shed blood never tasted so rancid. Then let us cleanse it, Jon urged. Root out rot before it devours the tree. Renly, silent until now, set down his figure. Perhaps you should rest, Lord Jon. We can reconvene when... Jon shook his head. Soon, but not now. Cersei's private solar, high in the maiden vault, smelled of myrrh and lemons. The queen paced, silken skirts whispering like leaves round a pyre. Jaime lounged upon a chaise, polishing his golden hand with a scrap of chamois as if it were a prized jewel. He looks half dead, yet he pries, Cersei said, voice tight. Questions of Bran, of Winterfell, of you. We expected this, Jaime replied, turning the hand to admire its gleam. Poison seldom leaves a man wise. It left him alive, she hissed. Meddlesome old bird. Jaime set aside the chamois. Better an old bird than a young wolf, sweet sister. Ned Stark would howl if he sniffed deeper. Cersei paused by the window, gaze sweeping rooftops. Stark will not learn. He hunts with Robert, drinks with Robert. Yet Arryn will finish what the tears began, Jaime said. Quietly, she folded arms. No more poisons. Pycelle watches him now like a hawk. Even fools would suspect. An accident, then. Perhaps, she allowed. But until he is silenced, you keep your distance. No shadow of suspicion must cross us. Jaime smiled, wolfish. I am a Kingsguard. Shadows follow like hounds. Cersei's gaze hardened. See that they do not bite. Jon spent the afternoon in the tower library, curled beneath quilts yet refusing sleep. Vardys brought parchment, quills, a pot of ink as black as crow feathers. Jon wrote in a shaky hand, Catelyn, to my Lord Stannis Baratheon, by the grace of the King Lord of Dragonstone, etc. Your eager servant begs urgent audience. Grave perils mount. Ride for King's Landing forthwith and burn this letter after reading. He paused. His hand shook so violently a blot spread across the page like spilt blood. He cursed under breath, began anew. 5 drafts littered the floor before he folded one within a wax-sealed packet bearing the moon and falcon of House Arryn. Vardys fetched a runner, an airy man loyal to his marrow, to bear it by fast horse to Storm's End first, thence by ship if Stannis still sulked across the sea lanes. Next, Jon summoned Ser Hugh of the Vale, his former squire. The lad entered in gleaming mail, bright-eyed with pride. "My lord," Hugh asked. Jon studied him, memory conjuring a boy who once fetched his letters. "You've grown into shining steel, but do not mistake it for iron inside." Hugh flushed. "I serve in honor." "Then hear me. You will dine with the king tonight."
Sidnir Seateme.
Ask him of just past, the lists at Harrenhal, the tilt at Lannisport. Speak of your wish to spar with him. Let him boast. He enjoys it. Laugh. Then tell me what he says." Hugh frowned. "Is that all, my lord?" "All for now," Jon said. "And Hugh, ignore wine. Keep your wits." The boy bowed, puzzlement clouding his freckled brow. Vardys returned after, bearing a ledger. Household accounts of King's Landing for the last 5 years. Jon leafed through until candles guttered. Patterns emerged. Grain shipments swelling then dipping. Coin flows from Lannisport merchants timed oddly with royal debts repaid. Someone laundered gold through the city coffers. He suspected Pycelle's signature would appear upon receipts. Yet here, no maester's hand. Only the sigil of Lord Peter Baelish, master of coin. Little finger. The man wore smiles like other men wore cloaks. But his daggers were buried in ledgers rather than flesh. Daggers of debt and bribes. Jon made note of each irregularity. When he finished, his eyes ached, and cool strokes wandered. He slept at last, head upon parchment, heart galloping wild in his chest. Night had fallen. Dragons danced in Jon's dreams. 3, red and gold and green, swooping above King's Landing, their wing beats thunderclaps that rattled windows. One dove upon him, jaws yawning flame. He woke to a candle's flicker. Something moved beyond his foot. A rustle. Jon's breath stilled. In the gloom, a silhouette crouched. A man in dark leathers, dagger in fist. Pale moonlight brushed steel. Jon tried to cry out, voice sand thick. He seized a brass candlestick, brandishing it though his arms trembled. The intruder froze, then sprang with cat-like grace. Over the footboard, onto Jon's chest, dagger thrust. Jon flung the candlestick. It struck the man's temple with a crack. Pain exploded in Jon's ribs as weight crashed atop him. He screamed. The sound was a ragged shriek. Boots pounded outside. The door burst open. Vardys Egan and 2 guards surged in, swords naked. The assassin leapt from the bed, blade flashing to parry Vardys' first stroke, then ducked past, slicing a guard's throat. Blood fountained as the man fled through servants' passages. Jon clutched his side where the weight had bruised him. He was bleeding. The dagger had grazed his shoulder, shallow but hot. He pressed the wound, breath quivering. Vardys knelt. "Maester!" Coleman arrived, white with terror, pressing cloth to Jon's wound. Jon gritted teeth, eyes tracking the blood that seeped through linen. "A bravosi," one guard said, quick as a whip. Jon's mind raced even as blackness tugged. The hooded bravosi speaking to Janos Slint. Tears of Lys failed, so a knife came. They would not stop until he was ashes. But he would not stop either. By sunrise, the Red Keep buzzed like a hive struck with a stick. Cersei awoke to servants chattering of an attempt upon the hand. When she arrived at the council chamber, Robert greeted her with thundercloud eyes. "Your Grace," she purred. "What ill besets you?" "Assassins in my own bloody castle," Robert snarled. "And you ask?" Varys, robed in lilac silk, folded plump hands. "A knife in the dark, my king. The hand lives, though wounded. The cut is not deep, but the insult cuts deeper." Lord Baelish flicked a glance at Cersei, lips curved. "If assassins can climb to the hand's bed, perhaps the royal bed should be better guarded." Cersei ignored him, turning to Robert. Who would be so bold? That's what we'll learn, Robert growled. I've doubled the Kingsguard around the children. His glare dared any to object. Ser Barristan bowed. Wise. Cersei masked unease with a cool smile. If Jon Arryn lived, he would push harder. And now Robert's wrath roused. She must act or suffer. Jon sat upright in bed by mid-morning, arm in sling but eyes bright. Pycelle fussed yet could not sway him. He summoned Peter Baelish. Littlefinger sauntered in, feathered cap under arm, gray-green eyes amused. My lord calls. Come quills at the ready. Investitures? Or something sweeter? Jon gestured to the ledger. Explain these sums. Baelish scanned the columns. Merely coin flowing through hungry mouths. My lord. Cities are expensive lovers. Jon tapped a page. Here, 10,000 dragons dispatched to the Silent Sisters Orphan Outreach. Yet the sisters report no such gift. Baelish's smile twitched. An accounting error. I shall correct it. Correct all of them, Jon said. Before I ride to High Septon with the tale. Baelish's brows lifted. Ride? In your condition? Jon met his gaze. I have ridden through worse. Ask the Bloody Gate. Silence stretched, taut as a drawn bow. Then Baelish inclined his head. As you wish. Errors shall be mended. Jon watched him leave, unease worming. Littlefinger yielded too easily. The man never surrendered a coin unless gaining a pouch elsewhere. He must move faster. Hugh of the Vale returned that evening, cheeks flushed. Ser Jaime spoke of justs and glory, the young knight reported. He laughed when I boasted I might unseat him. Then he told me a secret, that a hero is measured by who watches, not by which lance strikes true. A riddle? Jon asked. Hugh shrugged. He said the queen watches. Jon dismissed him, mind spinning. Who watches? Ned's boy had watched the tower window. A hero measured by witness. Jaime's pride proud as any lion. A chill spidered down Jon's spine. Incest. That terrible suspicion flared bright as wildfire. Bran saw Jaime and Cersei coupling. Jaime shoved him, thus the fall. Tears of Lys to silence Jon, a knife when that failed. He must confront them. But first Robert. The king would refuse any stain upon his honor. Yet truth must cut. Jon penned a note for Robert to meet at dusk. Before the raven could fly, Vardys returned with news. Robert had ridden to the Kingswood for a boar hunt. 2 days at least. Time Jon did not have. He rose from bed, ignoring Pycelle's pleas, donned simple leather doublet beneath a heavy cloak. Guards flanked him as he limped through halls perfumed with smoke and spices. Courtiers paused, whispering to see the hand abroad so soon. The Tower of the Hand lay behind when footsteps echoed. Cersei Lannister emerged from a colonnade, gown of midnight blue clasped by a golden lion brooch. Her smile gleamed. My lord, she said sweetly. You walk? I feared for you. Jon stopped short. Guards hung back, sensing tension. He bowed slightly. Your grace. She approached until only a whisper separated them. We are alone here, she murmured. Tell me what hunts you. You know, he said quietly. Her eyes flicked, green and cold. I know that men who seek dragons sometimes burn themselves. Better burned than blind, he replied. The realm's future comes before our comfort. She studied him. And you think revealing whispers will save that future? It will shatter the realm, set brother upon brother. Truth seldom shatters what is whole, only what is cracked. He drew breath. Step aside, your grace. Let justice mend the cracks. A shadow crossed her gaze. You underestimate the appetite of lions. They will feed one way or another. Then let them feed upon justice. He turned, signaling Vardys. But Cersei's hand closed about his arm, strength in slender fingers. Is the hand prepared for the fingers he may lose? Jon met her stare. I have lost much already. Fear no longer holds me. Slowly she released him. Then die an honorable death, Jon Arryn. The living will dance upon your grave. for they will know you danced with lions and thought yourself safe." Her voice softened to a caress. "Do you wish your wife widowed? Your son orphaned?" His throat tightened. "I wish them free." Cersei stepped back, face unreadable. "As you will." She inclined her head and departed. Jon's knees trembled. Varys steadied him. "My lord." "Back to the tower," Jon said. "I must write." He penned letters, one for Ned Stark summoning him south, another for Stannis urging haste, a third for Ser Barristan begging his nightly counsel. Wax seals glistened like fresh blood. He dispatched them with hawk-swift messengers. Night deepened. Lanterns hissed. Hours later, he poured wine, only one swallow to numb pain. Yet the sweetness lingered bitter on his tongue. He set the cup aside untouched thereafter. Outside, thunder muttered. A summer storm gathered above Blackwater Bay, clouds mottled like bruises across the sky. Rain began, spattering window shutters. Jon stood at the casement, breathing the scent of wet stone, when he glimpsed movement in the courtyard below. Torches bobbing, men in dark cloaks hurrying toward the stables. Among them the hooded Braavosi, and beside him Janos Slynt. Jon gripped the sill. They were leaving the castle, perhaps to hide until the king's return or to vanish across the sea. Proof slipping away into night. He turned to call Varys, too fast. Pain lanced his chest. The world tilted. Darkness surged. He fought it, staggering toward the door. But the floor rose like a wave and he fell. At dawn, Maester Coleman found him sprawled upon rushes, breath shallow, pulse a frantic bird beneath skin. They laid him abed once more. Pycelle came, pronounced his condition grave, and begged the small council to prepare for a new hand. Cersei watched from the chamber's threshold, expression smooth as mirror glass. Jon drifted in fevered dream. He walked the airy sky cells, looked down the abyss with wings of falcon mist. He heard Lisa calling, felt the warmth of his son Robert's arms, saw Ned Stark's solemn eyes. Then he opened his own eyes. Coleman gasped, dropping a cloth. "My lord!" "10," Jon whispered. Coleman fetched quill and parchment. Jon's hand shook, yet he wrote one sentence. "The seed is strong." He thrust it to Coleman. "Give."
Ned.
Coleman nodded, tears brimming. "When Lord Stark arrives." Jon smiled faint, satisfied. He closed his eyes, but not yet dead. He would not die until Ned Stark stood Arryn and carried the torch. And if he failed, the realm would burn. Yet perhaps from that fire new truth would rise. Beyond the tower, thunder rolled, and the storm broke upon King's Landing, washing roofs and alleys in silver sheets. Lightning forked across a sky the color of a sword's sorrowful steel, illuminating for an instant the banner of King Robert Baratheon. A black stag crowned, prancing proud, then darkness claimed it again. Jon Arryn breathed, labored yet steady, while the city below quaked beneath the storm that mirrored the one he'd loosed within stone walls and gilded hearts. A storm whose first drops had already fallen as blood and whispered secrets. Jon Arryn lay in silence for what felt like an hour after Coleman slipped from the solar with the message for Ned Stark. The hush soon thickened into a living thing that swelled against the chamber's walls, pressing at his skull until each heartbeat throbbed like a smith's hammer. His arm ached beneath the sling, and every breath scratched raw where the assassin's blade had grazed him. Yet he refused the poppy. Poppy dulled thought. He needed every jagged shard of thought he could muster if he meant to outpace the gathering storm. Wind hissed at the shutters. Rain still pattered against the leaded glass, but the night's rage had abated, leaving the world slick and cold. Jon imagined the stench that would rise from the gutters when the warmth returned, night soil and rotting fish, fermenting fruit from street vendors' stalls. King's Landing always reeked strongest in the calm that followed chaos, as though the city itself exhaled corruption after every beating. The door creaked. Varys Egen strode in, helm tucked beneath an arm slick with rain. At his heel came a slender woman in travel-stained gray, hood thrust back to reveal cropped brown hair and sharp gray eyes. "Elaine Stone," Varys announced, though Jon recognized her in an instant. His niece by marriage, though few in the Red Keep remembered her face. Elaine was a mask Sansa Stark would one day borrow, but this woman had worn the name long before Littlefinger whispered it in a northern ear. She was no cousin of Lysa's, but rather a sworn knife of the Arryn, one of Jon's silent gatherers who drifted through inns and plazas listening for stray truths. Elaine dipped a brief curtsy. "My lord Hand." Jon gestured her forward. "What word from the fingers?" Her bearing struck him first, still as a drawn bowstring, eyes sweeping the room for threats before she answered. The fingers rustle with Lannister coin. A pair of bright lions landed at Pebble 2 days past, hiring oarsmen to sail them south before the storm broke. Their captain boasted of swift waters and a sealed chest heavier than a maiden doling dowries. Did they sail? At sunset yesterday. Small sloop, black sail, bound for the Mander if the wind's kind. Jon's thoughts raced. The Mander meant Old Town or even High Garden. Perhaps Cersei sought Tyrell favor to counter Robb Baratheon's influence once her secret spilled. Or perhaps she meant to bribe whisperers in the Citadel, burying evidence the way a gravedigger buried bones. "Follow them if you can," he said. "They have a head start. Take the next ship and cut north around Dragonstone. Wind should favor you once the storm recedes. Send riders from Maidenpool. I need their destination before they berth." She nodded, then withdrew. Vardys lingered. "My lord, every runner you send draws another dagger. Then we will meet blades with shields," Jon replied. "Double the watch upon my door again. Yet I must keep sending." Vardys' jaw tightened. "The guard already whispers. They say you chase phantoms." "Phantoms wear lions' cloaks," Jon said. "Better to slash mist than let it choke us." Vardys bowed and left. Alone, Jon allowed himself one long breath. Ned would come. Stannis, too, if the seas didn't swallow his ship. But would either arrive before Cersei struck again? Poison and knives had failed. What next? An orchestrated riot? A false decree from Robert's hand while the king hunted boar? Jon pictured the roiling city. Gold cloaks lounging in taverns, sellswords seeking hire, septons preaching peace to crowds steeped in hunger. A single spark could ignite a mob. Cersei might simply fan embers into flame, then blame Arryn for the blaze. He rose too quickly. Pain lanced his shoulder, and the world blurred. He steadied himself on the carved bedpost, then crossed to the map table. Parchments lay strewn, notes in Coleman's tidy hand, figures from Baelish. Jon swept them aside and unrolled a fresh sheet. An old survey of the Red Keep cellars that Eddard Stark had copied years before on Robert's request, when rumors of secret passages first filtered from the small folk. Jon traced corridors with a fingertip, noting where each arrow slit and murder hole dotted the fortress's underbelly. A soft rap sounded. Pycelle shuffled in, spine bent beneath his chain. "My lord Hand, a tincture of white willow and lemon water." Jon waved him silent. Later, Pycelle's brows knitted. "Your fever has returned. Your skin glistens." "Not fever, resolve." Jon leaned over the map, ignoring the Grand Maester's fussing. "Walk with me. Walk." Pycelle's jowls quivered. "You will tear your wound anew." Jon buckled cloak about his shoulders, cinched belt with his good hand. "I have torn enough sitting still." He strode for the door. Pycelle waddled after, complaining under his breath. Guards formed around them, Vardys' men, Arryn's men, 1 or 2 gold cloaks assigned by Robert. Jon eyed those last suspiciously but said nothing. They made for the kitchens, deepest within the keep's belly. Steam billowed from cauldrons where cooks stirred innards into brown stew for garrison soldiers. The heat struck like summer in the free cities. Sweat beaded at Jon's temples. He should have been shivering beneath blankets, but blankets could not mend a kingdom. At the far wall, a flight of steps descended into gloom. "Torches," Jon ordered. A guard fetched brands and led the way. Down they wound, rough-hewn stone slick with runoff, puddles reflecting orange light. Rats scurried. Pycelle coughed whenever cobwebs brushed his nose. Yet beneath discomfort, Jon noted the shadows where murderers might lurk, the width of passages where a small man might slip unseen. The torchbearer halted at a rusted iron grate. Beyond lay a cistern where the keep's rainwater gathered before feeding pipes to fountains overhead. The surface was black glass dotted with drifting leaves carried down from courtyard drains. Ser Jaime once boasted he knew hidden doors in this wall, Jon said softly. But he would not say where. Pycelle dabbed his brow. The queens of old demanded secret ways for lovers and crows alike. Jon faced the Grand Maester. You have served 3 kings. Tell me, who else knows? Perhaps Varys. Such passages are his wine. Pycelle's voice trembled. But my lord, why? To keep watch. Jon pressed fingertips to the wall, probing seams. An assassin entered my solar last night. He came by stair, but he might next come by shadow. I would know every hole in the keep before he does. Pycelle exhaled, a wheeze of dust. Your energies would serve the realm better in bed. Jon turned to him. Serve the queen better, you mean? Pycelle stiffened. I serve the realm. You serve House Lannister. I do not begrudge loyalty, but do not cloak it in pretended virtue. The old maester's lips worked, yet no words formed. At length he bowed. As you say, my lord. Jon looked past him, through the flicker dance of torchlight on water. Find out who tends the drains beneath Maegor's holdfast. Names, schedules, dismissals these past 2 moons. Pycelle blinked. We keep no such ledger. Make one, Jon said, and bring it to me, discreetly. The old man's chain links clinked as he bowed deeper. As you command. Back up the steps, Jon drew chilled breaths, the heat replaced by a clammy stone scent. His shoulder throbbed, legs wobbled, but he had glimpsed the keep's bones. Bones told truths flesh could hide. In the corridor outside his solar, Elaine Stone awaited beside Ser Vardis, whispering details of a fresh dispatch. Word from Gulltown. She handed Jon a reed-scratched scrap. He unfolded it. One line. Stannis sailed dawn tide. For warships. Swore no turning back. Good. The Lord of Dragonstone approached. Send Raven to Dragonstone, Jon said. Tell Castellan Seri to bar no man from roosting until Stannis lands. And warn him to keep a watch on his cellars. Littlefinger's coin travels faster than ships. Elaine slipped away. Jon entered the solar. The air stank of tinctures and stale sweat, but at least here he controlled shadows. He sat, quill trembling as he drew paper nearer. Another letter, this one to Lord Hoster Tully. An appeal for watchfulness, not yet for arms, though soon perhaps. If war erupted, the Riverlands would cut the kingdom's belly first and bleed it to death before the lions and the stag were done. Ink blotched. Pain blurred his vision. He blinked against darkness edging his sight, steadying his breath with a hunter's patience. The door swung open. Varys slipped inside like a lavender wisp. Ah, my lord, he cooed. How the realm rejoices at your continued vigor. Jon set quill aside. The realm or its spiders? Varys's painted lips curved. Spiders keep flies from spoiling the feast. Might we speak? Jon gestured for him to sit. Varys folded onto a cushioned stool, robes pooling like spilt wine. His scent, powder and lilac, masked something sharper beneath. Fear? Or ambition? The queen's heart trembles at last night's horror, Varys said. She begs assurances of your health. The queen sent the dagger, Jon replied. Varys lifted plucked brows. Bold. A liar must be met with boldness. Jon leaned forward despite his ache. How many whispers told you I would not rise again? Whispers are fickle. Some claimed you were already dead. Others that the stranger fled your bedside in terror. He toyed with a ring. Truth perches somewhere between. Help me cage it. Jon's voice dropped. I offer you what Cersei cannot. A realm untorn by war. Varys lowered his eyes. What do you require? Names. Who within the gold cloaks takes coin from the Lannisters? Who commands the hooded blades? Varys sighed. Some secrets turn to swords when drawn, yet perhaps a few edges might be dulled. He produced a folded parchment from his sleeve. A list of men dismissed from the city watch this fortnight, their sins forgiven with tidy severance. Many found work as bodyguards in Lannisport houses. He laid it on the table between them. "Mark the names." Jon opened the list. 8 names gleamed by the Master of Whisperers. He recognized only one. Harlan the Butcher, a brute once tried for beating a potboy nearly to death. "They are blades for hire. Blades with a taste for red gold," Varys said. Janos Slint looked the other way at their departures. "Then Janos collects from the Queen." Jon set the list aside. "I thank you." Varys rose. "One thing more, my lord. The king's hunt runs longer than expected. A white boar leads him merry. He may not return for 3 days." Jon's heart sank. 3 days grants Cersei 3 opportunities. Or you 3 preparations. Varys bowed. "I pray you use them wisely." He glided out. Jon leaned back, pulse pounding. 3 days. Ned might reach King's Landing within 4 if roads were clear. Stannis 5 by swift sail. He alone must weather the interim. He took quill in trembling hand again and scrawled orders for Ser Vardis. Rotate guard posts every 6 hours, lock armory doors, station trusted Arryn men on walkways above the courtyard. If riot or coup stirred, they would hold ground until the king's return. He sealed the orders, then at last allowed Coleman to press a cup of willow tea to his lips. Bitterness washed his tongue. Sleep tugged, but he resisted, forcing himself to read over the ledger again, mapping Littlefinger's money rivers in the back of his mind. Late that night, a solitary lantern bobbed along the ramparts. Cersei Lannister stood upon a parapet, ignoring the drizzle that still fell from sullen low clouds. Ser Jaime leaned against the merlin beside her, golden hand clasping wet stone. "He lives yet," Cersei murmured. "He is protected like some maiden in a tower," Jaime said. "Ser Vardis would gut his own mother for Arryn, and our Sellsword Arryn's fail." Cersei turned emerald eyes upon him. "We have one path left." Jaime's grin was ragged in the lantern glow. "The very path that brought Bran tumbling?" She nodded. "If Jon Arryn walks the ramparts for strength tomorrow, a loose stone might slip beneath his heel. The walls are slick after rain." Jaime's laugh was soft. "A Kingsguard's oath forbids me to harm the hand. Then break the oath, as you broke the one to Ares." Bitterness shadowed Jaime's face. "I broke it for Robert, a better king, so I thought. And he has become a drunk." Cersei's voice trembled. "Everything I do, Jaime, I do for us, for our children. If Arryn reveals..." "I know." Jaime looked away across the city's black rooftops, torches flickering in distant lanes like embers. "Tomorrow, then, I'll escort him for his morning walk. A damp stone, a soft boot, a slip." Cersei's lips brushed his cheek. "My brave knight. Perhaps," Jaime muttered, "or a cursed fool." Dawn found the city swaddled in gray mist, harbor masts ghost-thin against a pallid sky. Jon Arryn rose unrest, strapped on a light brigandine to hide weakness, and stepped into the corridor flanked by Vardis and 2 Vale guards. Jaime Lannister awaited at the stair, white cloak spotless, helm under arm. "My lord hand," Jaime greeted. "The sun lifts her veil for us. Walk the walls? Air cures affliction." Jon's shoulder barked with each heartbeat, but he nodded. "I'll not deny sunrise." They climbed spiral steps. Vardis trailed behind, watching Jaime's back. Jaime's golden hand glinted dull in the gloom. Atop the rampart, mist coiled like ghosts. Mermaid's Pool shimmered below where the fog thinned, a sheet of quicksilver. Jon drew breath of wet stone and salt. Jaime paced beside him, casual as a tourney strut. "Strange," Jaime said. "How I have walked these walls since boyhood, yet never tired of this view." Jon eyed him. "Did you walk them that night in Winterfell?" A brief hitch in the Kingslayer's steps. "I walked many nights. The north is restless to a southern eye." Jon leaned on the crenel, testing mossy dampness. Stones slick indeed. Bran Stark witnessed one restless walk. Jaime's jaw tightened. "The boy fell. He was pushed." Jon's voice cut the mist. "And you were the last man seen near that tower before his cry." Jaime's smile was brittle. Rumors climb faster than boys. Jon turned full upon him. I saw the tower. A child could not have slipped from that window. Not alone. Children climb, Jaime said softly. They fall. It is sad. And incest is sadder still. Jaime's eyes narrowed. That word could cost heads. I have risked mine already, Jon replied. I will risk yours if need be. Mist curled. For a heartbeat neither spoke. Jaime's hand flexed near sword hilt, but he did not draw. Instead he stepped closer, voice low. You speak treason. The queen's honor is false. The king fathers no son at court. Jon's whisper carried steel. I have studied lineages, visited brothels where King Robert's bastards thrive with the black hair of House Baratheon. Yet the princes share none. Jaime drew breath through teeth. Will you proclaim it? I will present it to the king, if he believes we PR. OC'd by law. Jaime's laugh was a raw bark. Robert worships hunting more than law. He will kill them.
Joffrey, Myrcella, Tommen, babes.
Your truth will drown them in their own blood. Jon's heart hammered. Their blood is mine to weigh, not yours. A false succession will drown the realm worse. Jaime stepped back. Rain on stone gave beneath his boot. Jon saw muscles coil, a decision forged in silence. Jaime thrust, not with sword, with hand. He lunged, golden fist slamming Jon's chest. Jon reeled. Slick stone slid beneath heel.
Fogvörled.
He toppled, yet Vardys's mailed hand shot out, grasping Jon's collar. The captain yanked him back as Jaime's momentum carried him too far. The Kingslayer flailed. His boots slipped. He crashed chest first atop the parapet. Teetered. Jon's hand shot, seizing Jaime's cloak. For a breath they hung balanced, prey and predator trading roles. Then Vardys dragged Jon safe. Jaime jerked free of the cloak and regained footing, but too late to mask intent. Guards drew steel. Jaime raised golden hand. A stumble, he said calmly. The wall is treacherous. Blood smeared his lip from the collision. Jon steadied breath. So is the Kingslayer. Vardys's blade angled at Jaime's throat. Disarm. Jaime's smile held sorrow. He unbuckled sword belt, let it drop with a clang, then raised hands. Take me to his grace. Word of the arrest coursed through the Red Keep like wildfire. By midday, small council hall thrummed with tension. Renly paced. Littlefinger kept to the shadows. Pycelle dabbed brow. Only Varys sat serene. Jon Arryn entered, arm a bandaged sling, cloak stained with rampart slime. For guards marched behind bearing Jaime in chains. Renly's voice cracked. Jon, what madness! The madness of truth, Jon said. He addressed the council. I accuse Ser Jaime of attempted murder of the Hand, attempted murder of Lord Bran Stark, and treason against the crown through illicit union with Queen Cersei. Shock pounded like drums. Pycelle gaped. Littlefinger's eyes gleamed with fascinated delight. Varys said nothing, though his gaze flicked to Jaime as if memorizing every chain link. Jaime laughed. Ragged. All this because a lord tripped on moss? Jon ignored him. Grand Maester, fetch your books of lineage. Renly, send riders for his grace at once. He must judge. Renly sputtered. Robert will unseat you for this. He may, Jon conceded, but he will still hear proof. Littlefinger stepped forward, hands raised in mock supplication. Proof, my lord? A boy's fall? Your fevered raving. Jon produced scrolls, threw them upon the table. Lineages of the great houses. A century of charted births shows Baratheon seed breeds black of hair. No fair child in 10 generations. Yet the king's children are golden. Renly's face paled. Died perhaps. An infant does not die. Jon's voice was iron. Ask the midwives. They recall. Silence. Pycelle shuffled scrolls, eyes darting. These are observations, not ironclad. The king will decide their weight, Jon said. A door burst open. Queen Cersei strode in, gown of emerald velvet, crown gleaming. She took the scene in, gaze dagger sharp at Jaime bound. Release him, she commanded. Jon bowed. By whose order, your grace? The king's? He rides beyond river and reach. By mine. Her voice could have chipped stone. She turned to Renly, Littlefinger, Varys. Unbind my brother. Renly swallowed. The hand speaks falsehoods. Cersei cut him off. He is minded by fever, by sorrow. He cannot accuse without proof. I will, Jon said. Their stares clashed. Cersei's lips curled. You risk war. I seek peace, Jon answered. Peace cannot flower in poisoned soil. She took one step closer, voice a whisper only he and Jaime could hear. You will bring doom on us all. Robert will kill his own get to cleanse his name. He deserves the truth, Jon said. Jaime's chains rattled as he shifted. Cersei's eyes gleamed with unshed tears, anger or dread. She drew a breath that trembled. Then may the gods forgive you. She pivoted, skirts swishing, and left as abruptly as she'd come. Pycelle exhaled long. We tread perilous ground. Until his grace returns, we are naught but children bickering. Then keep the peace, Jon ordered. Ser Jaime remains confined. The queen remains unmolested. No letters leave the keep unless I wax seal them. We hold until Robert sits to rule. Littlefinger's smile spread crooked. Chaos is a ladder, they say. Shall we climb or fall? Renly glared at him. Varys folded hands and murmured, Let us hope a gentle wind steadies the ladder. Nightfall draped the keep in a hush broken only by clinking chains as Jaime Lannister paced a sparse cell beneath the White Sword Tower. His golden hand glimmered dimly in candlelight. 2 airy guards watched, spears leveled. Across the yard, Cersei knelt before a candlelit altar in her bedchamber, palms pressed to the maiden's marble feet. Tears streaked her cheeks, but whether grief for Jaime's fate or terror for her children, even she could not say. She whispered prayers never taught in septs, pleas to nameless gods older than stone septa or carved idols, gods of blood and earth, of lion's pride and mother's fury. Yet the only answer was silence broken by distant thunder rolling far out over the narrow sea. Within his solar, Jon Arryn sat in high-backed chair, quill poised above parchment. The candle burned low, wax tears pooling on the desk. His hand cramped. He flexed fingers, then wrote anew. CSS, if I fall ere Robert returns, know that my every action aims to spare the realm. Guard the children, though the crown be false. They are blameless. Guard the Starks, for they will be hunted. Tell Robert that I loved him enough to stand against him. He sealed the page, pressed his sigil, and slipped it into a hidden compartment of the desk. Only Coleman knew the mechanism. He prayed the maester would be brave enough to retrieve it if needed. Knuckles rapped. Ser Vardys entered. Lord Hand. The queen's men gather near the stables. Jon stood. How many? 200 at least, mixed Lannister guards and Sellswords. They load wagons. Children. No sign. Jon exhaled. She cleans house before Robert's judgment. We must not let her flee. He buckled sword belt. Pain flared but subsided into grim purpose. Vardys handed him a lantern. They descended stairs, armor clanking. In the courtyard, fog clung low. Lanterns bobbed. Jon saw Lannister red cloaks, spotted men hauling chests onto wagons. A hurried exodus under moonlight. He strode forward. Hold! Where ride you with the queen's goods? A sergeant bowed half-heartedly. Her grace moves wardrobe to the manse outside the city for airing. The damp. Airing waits for sun, Jon snapped. Unload. The sergeant hesitated. Swords rasped among Jon's guard. Reluctantly the Lannisters obeyed, lowering chests to mud. Vardys slit one open. Within lay stacks of cloth nestled about iron strongboxes bearing Lannister lion seals. Coin's heavy clack told the tale.
Varchest? Jon muttered.
Not wardrobe, he raised voice. By authority of the hand, these assets are held in trust pending the king's return. Secure them. Airy men hurried to drag chests toward the Tower of the Hand. Lannister scowled but stood down, perhaps awaiting clearer orders. Thunder growled. Rain began anew, cold needles prickling Jon's scalp. He turned as a figure approached from the gatehouse, Lord Peter Baelish, cloak flapping like crow wings. Interfering with royal property? Littlefinger asked, arching brow. Protecting it. Jon wiped rain from brow. Baelish chuckled. A noble distinction. Shall I tally these coins? As master of coin. No, Jon's refusal echoed. You may watch. Ser Vardy's accounts. The sums stand sealed. Any who touch them without Robert's decree answer to me. Baelish spread hands, surrendering with a smile that did not reach his eyes. As you will. Jon sensed hostility behind that smile, worse than Lannister steel. Littlefinger's knives gleamed within shadows of purses and trust. He walked away, leaving Baelish in rain. The Lannister wagons stood empty now. Guards slumped, uncertain. Jon hoped their lack of orders would keep them inert until Robert's return. Lightning flashed over Blackwater Bay, illuminating sails. Jon wondered if Stannis braved the storm, prow cutting white fire across waves. Would he arrive in time? In the Riverlands, Ned Stark guided his horse beneath low boughs, cloak soaked, wolf's head brooch dulled by rain. Orders from King's Landing burned in his satchel. He had left Winterfell as soon as the Raven arrived, heedless of Catelyn's pleas. Now he pushed his retinue hard. Howland Reed's son Jojen among them, for dreams guided their path. It mattered little. He would reach the capital or die of haste. As they broke camp near Harrenhal's looming ruins, a second Raven arrived, the seal of Riverrun. Hoster Tully warned of brewing unrest. Lannister riders on western roads, Tully outriders skirmishing unseen foes. Ned's worry deepened. War sniffed the air like a hungry direwolf. He urged his men to saddle before first light, driving them south toward fate. Far to the south, for warships carved foam. Stannis Baratheon stood stiff-backed on the forecastle of Fury, rain plastering black hair to stern brow. Sailors whispered the Lord of Dragonstone never blinked. He clutched parchment from Jon Arryn, eyes scanning storm horizon. Make all speed, he commanded. If sail tears, row. If oars break, swim. We reach King's Landing by the morrow's dawn or break upon the mud gate. Thunder answered. Back within the Red Keep, dawn's thin light crept into Jon's solar, revealing him asleep at desk, cheek upon parchment. Coleman stirred him gently. Jon's bones protested, but he rose. Rain had ceased. Only drip-drip from eaves remained, like a clock marking time's bloodletting. Coleman whispered, "The Queen seeks audience." Jon flexed stiff fingers. "Let her." Moments later Cersei entered, face pale yet composed, hair woven in a simple tale.
No crown.
She wore a riding cloak, though mud-spattered hem told she had abandoned flight. "You have my brother caged," she said without greeting. "For his crimes." She approached, gaze traveling across sealed chests piled against wall. "You seize my dowry, my children's coin." "The king's coin," Jon corrected, "held until we resolve lineage." Cersei's composure wavered. "You think this ends with parchment? Blood will answer blood." "It need not," Jon said quietly. "Confess to Robert. He loved you once. Perhaps he will spare." She laughed, brittle. "Spare? Robert knows only the cudgel. He will smash whatever offends." "Then flee," Jon said before thought could halt tongue. "Take the children west. Live quiet." Her eyes widened, then narrowed. "And yield a kingdom to Stannis? Or to you?" "I want no throne," Jon replied. "I want peace. Peace is the dream of tired men." Tears shimmered in her eyes. "I will not run." Jon felt pity, unexpected, twist within. But pity could not shield the realm. Footsteps pounded in corridor. Vardy's burst in. "My lord, the king returns." Relief flooded Jon, mingled with dread. He nodded. "Bring Jaime to the throne room. Summon the council." Cersei's mask cracked. "No," she spun, cloaked billowing, and fled. Jon followed slower, pain limping him. Guards streamed through halls, banners unfurling. Stable doors yawned as Robert's party clattered in. Men mud-splattered, hounds barking. Robert dismounted, boar blood on tunic, cheeks flush from ale and triumph. He laughed boisterously until he saw Jaime in chains, escorted toward the holdfast. His laughter died. "What treachery is this?" Jon bowed. "Your Grace, I arrested Ser Jaime for attempts upon my life and the life of Bran Stark, and for treason with the Queen. I beg audience in the throne room to lay evidence." Robert's blue eyes darted. Confusion, anger, disbelief. "Unchain him." "I cannot," Jon said. Robert's hand curled into fist. "I am king." "You are," Jon agreed. "And a just king listens before judgment." Robert's jaw worked. Then he barked, "Very well. Throne room. Now." The procession formed. Court assembled in murmuring waves beneath vaulted heights where Targaryen kings of old watched from stained glass eyes. Torches flared. Robert ascended the Iron Throne, its jagged spines catching dawn light. Pain crossed his face as he settled. Throne edges cut flesh if one lacked caution, but he ignored it. Jon stood before him, scrolls in hand. Jaime, shackled, flanked by two white-cloaked brothers. Cersei stood beside the throne, lips bloodless. Jon's voice carried, "Your Grace, I present proof of false succession and attempted murder. Bran Stark fell from a tower in Winterfell after witnessing incestuous relations between Queen Cersei and Ser Jaime. Evidence lies in the prince's hair, the Queen's actions, and Ser Jaime's attempt to silence both Boy and myself." Gasps rose. Robert's face drained. "You accuse my wife?" "I present truth," Jon said. He offered ledgers, witness accounts, midwife testimonies. Robert's hands trembled. He glared at Jaime. "Answer." Jaime's golden hand shone as he folded arms. "I confess nothing." Cersei stepped forward. "Husband, this is poison. He would tear our family for his ambition." "Ambition?" Jon echoed. "Name any seat I covet." Cersei's mouth opened, but words failed. Robert rose slowly. "Bring the boy," he ordered. "The prince?" Cersei asked, faltering. "Bran," Robert corrected. "The Stark child. If he lives, he speaks." Jon bowed. "Still comatose, Your Grace." Robert slumped onto steel again. Silence pressed all. Littlefinger broke it with a cough. "If I may, Your Grace, perhaps the gods themselves might decide. Trial by combat." Jaime's eyes lit, himself champion, no doubt. Cersei too straightened. Jon felt dread. For injured, he could not fight. Robert eyed Jon. "Would you stand?" "I cannot," Jon said. "But I name a champion." Robert nodded. "Name." "Ser Barristan Selmy," Jon said without hesitation. Gasp stirred. Barristan bowed. "I serve the realm," he said. Jaime grinned, dangerous. "I will face him." Robert's voice boomed. "So be it. At noon tomorrow, combat decides guilt or innocence. Till then, guards hold both sides to quarters." Cersei exhaled shaky relief. Jaime unmatched prowess might yet save them. Jon felt hope too, for Barristan, though older, had bested legends. Yet a dual-risked realm on sword edge. Truth should not hinge on one stroke. But Robert had spoken. Noon approached swift as a hawk. The training yard buzzed. High lords filled galleries. Common folk thronged walls for glimpses. Jon leaned on Cain beside Vardes. Pain screamed, yet he stood. Barristan Selmy entered first, armor bright, white cloak billowing. He carried helmet beneath arm, gray hair bound. Jaime followed, golden armor freshly polished, sword lion's tooth gleaming. The king watched from balcony, goblet in fist. Cersei beside him clasped rail. The high septon blessed combat. Horns sounded. Blades met with clash that rang stone. Jaime pressed quick, swirling. Barristan parried, riposted. The dance dazzled. Jon's breath caught each stroke. Minutes bled. Sweat flicked. Jaime feinted left, spun, hammering at Barristan's pauldron. Selmy staggered but answered with upward cut, nicking Jaime's cheek. Crowd roared. Jaime laughed, blood running. He lunged again, sword blur. Barristan retreated, parry failing. Steel kissed his thigh, carving crimson. Barristan grimaced, weight shifting. Jaime smirked. Old lion, old bones. Barristan gripped hilt two-handed. Raised guard. Jaime circled. Another exchange, sparks flew. Barristan's blade flicked, tip slicing strap at Jaime's gorget. Jaime's helm wobbled, vision momentarily blinding. Barristan seized moment with swift pommel strike to temple, golden helm rang. Jaime reeled. Barristan followed, shoulder slam sending Jaime stumbling. In that stagger, Selmy's blade arced, pommel cracking golden hand. Metal rang, joints buckled. Jaime hissed, but youth surged. Jaime pivoted, backslash catching Barristan's arm. White cloak stained red. Barristan dropped to knee. Jaime raised sword for kill. Gasps erupted. Yet Barristan thrust gauntlet into Jaime's knee hollow. Jaime buckled. Barristan sprang, elbow smashing golden hand again. Then his blade's point darted up under ruined gorget, resting against Jaime's throat. Silence. Jaime froze, eyes wide. Blood trickled where steel pricked. Barristan's voice rang, "Yield." Jaime's sword clanged to sand. "I yield." Thunderous clamor erupted. Robert rose, face ashen. Jaime stood still as executioners block. High Septon proclaimed victory for Jon's champion. By the gods' judgment, Ser Jaime Lannister is guilty. Cersei screamed, the sound a night bird's wail. Guards seized Jaime. Robert slumped back upon seat, eyes haunted. Jon felt knees buckle in relief and dread. Triumph could still birth war. That night, as sun bled purple beyond Blackwater, Robert Baratheon summoned Jon to his solar. Flagons lay scattered. The king looked years older. "He is my friend," Robert said, voice raw, meaning Jaime perhaps, or Jon, or both. "My children." Jon bowed head. "Joffrey, Myrcella, Tommen are innocent of their birth, but lineage cannot rest on lies." Robert stared at flickering hearth. "What am I to do?" "Send them safe to Casterly Rock under guard. Take Cersei in honorable custody until trial. Declare Stannis heir until such time as the realm elects otherwise." Jon's heart hammered. It will sting, but stings heal. Robert's hand trembled upon goblet. "Stannis a king? God save me. The realm will." Tears welled unshed in Robert's eyes. "I loved her once. I know." Silence stretched. At length Robert whispered, "Very well. Tomorrow, make arrangement." His gaze hardened. "But if this breaks my realm, their blood is on your hands." Jon met his gaze. "I will bear it." Morning sun rose on a different realm. Lannister banners drooped. Stannis' fleet docked under watchful eyes. Ned Stark crossed the Blackwater by ferry, cloak sodden, dire wolf at heel, only to find the keep abuzz with news that rattled even him. Children displaced, Queen arrested, Jaime condemned. In the throne room, Jon greeted Ned, voices low. "We live yet," Jon said, weak smile. "Too many die first," Ned answered. Stannis entered, face stern. "Brother, what have you wrought?" he asked Jon, though eyes cut toward Robert. "A chance at peace," Jon said. Stannis snorted but drew sword and knelt before Robert. "Your grace." Robert bade him rise. "You are heir until my seed sprouts anew in honest soil." Stannis' jaw worked. "I accept." Murmurs swept lords. Outside, courtiers whispered of civil war averted. Inside, old wounds reopened. Cersei sat silent beneath guard, eyes blazing vows of vengeance. Jaime awaited judgment in a cell, rope perhaps his fate. Jon Arryn, wounded and weary, stood amid it all. Yet for the first time in many moons he breathed hope. The seed of truth, planted in pain, might yet grow into something sturdy, though storms would hound it still. He gripped Ned's arm, feeling brotherhood renewed. Across the hall, Stannis' gaze found his, nodding once in grudging respect. Peace would not come swiftly. Lannisters would ride for war. Tyrells would weigh roses against thorns. Greyjoys might scent weakness and strike. But the first stone had been laid, honest and rough-hewn, upon which other stones must rest or sear. Jon Arryn turned toward the doors of the throne room, where light streamed in golden shafts across the cold floor. He stepped into that light, pain flaring with each move, yet strength rising too, as if the sun itself lent him courage. Though the path ahead wound through shadow and sword edge, he would follow it until final breath, for his realm, his king, and the fragile truth he had fought to save. The hush after battle thickened like congealing wax around the Iron Throne, trapping every man within its slow, hardening grip. Even the torches, once leaping with triumphant flame at Ser Barristan's victory, seemed cowed now, burning low, guttering, as though wary of calling fresh winds of treachery. For an hour after the duel, Robert Baratheon sat upon his spiked chair and spoke no word, knuckles white against the antler-shaped arms, the raw cut in his palm staining steel spikes with fresh crimson whenever he shifted. Jon Arryn lingered beneath the dais, cane in hand, the pulse behind his wounded shoulder drumming like a smith's hammer at dawn. Every breath cost him, yet he kept each drawn shallow, steady, refusing to betray weakness to eyes above or below. He stole furtive glances. Renly, pacing behind the throne like a restless colt. Lord Varys, hands drowsily folded within violet sleeves though his glossy eyes missed nothing. Littlefinger idly twirling a quill between ring-tipped fingers. Pycelle, hunched in a carved chair, the chain about his neck scraping softly whenever he swallowed. And there, Stannis Baratheon, newly arrived from Blackwater Bay, mail clinking, jaw clenched so hard Jon could almost hear teeth grinding each time Robert continued his long silence. Cersei's place upon the marble floor was lit by a single shaft of afternoon sun descending from a narrow high window, cruel, revealing light. She knelt rather than stand, wrists bound by thin golden cord more for symbolism than restraint. A dozen spears ringed her, yet she did not tremble. Green eyes blazed defiance when they met Jon's, and if tears welled beneath, they burned away before falling. Jaime had been taken below. The sound of his shackles had died long moments past, leaving her with only memory of steel upon stone. At length Robert stirred. "No son of mine," he whispered, barely louder than a breath, yet every lord present heard the words. They echoed, lonely, beneath dragon-carved vaults. He raised his head, looked past Jon toward the knot of guards who carried 3 small crowns upon cushions of crimson velvet. Joffrey's stag and lion wrought in bright gold, Myrcella's delicate coronet of maiden lace lilies, and Tommen's simple circlet fashioned the day he learned to toddle. "Take those to the vault," Robert said, voice scraping ragged as old bronze. "Lock them with Aerys' crown." 2 guards bowed and departed with their burdens. The king's eyes tracked them to the door, then slid to Cersei. "Stand," he ordered. When she rose, she was tall as ever, a lioness bearing teeth. Her cloak had been removed, leaving shoulders exposed, a dusting of rain-dried droplets like salt crystals upon bare skin. "I will face whatever judgment you pass," she said coolly. "But remember, my lord husband, your wrath falls not on strangers but on the mother of your children and the shield of your name these many years." "My name," he echoed, bitter. "I thank you for its shield. I shall see if it still stands once your claws withdraw." He turned to Varys. "See the queen kept in her apartments until I name a panel of judges from among the High Septon and the Lords Paramount. She will have trial for adultery and treason at the next full moon." "And our children?" Cersei pressed. "Where go they, as hostages to Dragonstone?" Robert's mouth twitched. "They sail at dawn for Storm's End with Ser Davos and the Hand's sworn men. They are my wards until the trial is done. No harm will touch them unless harm befalls their king." Cersei's eyes narrowed. "I swear by the 7, if one scar mars them." "Enough," Robert snapped, the single word reverberating like a hammer blow. He gestured, and the spears closed round her. She allowed herself to be turned yet spared Jon one last stare. No plea, no thanks, only cold promise of ruin should he stumble. When the queen had gone, when footfalls faded, Robert sagged back, as though invisible chains pressed him deeper into iron barbs. Jon braced, waiting for rage to turn toward him, but the king's eyes found Stannis instead. "Brother," Robert said, "do you take up the crown if my line ends?" Stannis's jaw flexed. "By right of blood. That is not what I asked." Robert's voice sank to almost gentle sadness. "Will you?" Stannis squared shoulders. "If the realm wills it and the gods permit." Robert's lips twisted, half smile, half wound. "Would that you could speak plain as steel. Very well. Until verdict you remain heir. But swear here, before the throne, that should Cersei be found innocent, you will step aside." A murmur rippled. Jon tensed. Renly's face flushed crimson. But Stannis only bowed stiff. "I swear." Robert nodded, satisfied or resigned. It was hard to tell. He waved a heavy hand. "Enough courts and crowns. Leave me with the hand." The hall emptied in whispers. Varys glided like violet smoke. Renly stalked out, muttering. Pycelle bowed and all but fled. Stannis alone hesitated until Robert motioned him to. Stark and Arryn's men shut high oak doors, and the clang echoed away. Jon ascended the 2 short steps to stand beneath the throne. His cane slid slightly on blood-slick marble. Robert's big hand caught his elbow with surprising gentleness, steadied him. "You won," Robert said, voice dulled by exhaustion. "But I feel like a man who cut off his sword hand to stop a splinter." Jon swallowed the ache in his throat. "I never sought your hurt." Robert's booming laugh of old was gone. This was a dry bark. "You think I don't know? Gods, Jon, you were always the one voice I trusted to speak truth even when it tasted foul. Still I hate you for this. Hate you and love you, and I cannot say which stronger." He rubbed his eyes. "What now? Tywin will march. Their bannermen will bleed the riverlands soon as word spreads. And I have no stomach for civil war." Jon found strength in the firmness of his own reply. "We mend walls before arrows fly. The great lords must see justice served by law, not steel. Summon them. Seat each as judge with the high septon. Let Tywin taste the doubt of his peers before he draws blade." Robert grunted. "Invite the wolf, the rose, the kraken, the falcon to pass verdict on the lion. Might work or might crack the kingdom in halves. But we'll do it." Jon straightened despite pain. "I will draft summons at once, and banners to recall your armies from the Trident and Dorne. Let them stand ready but not strike first." "I'll leave such ink to you, old friend," Robert said. "But mind your health. I've near lost you twice in a moon." Jon nodded. "I will not fall until the realm's path is clear." Robert clapped his shoulder, forgetting the wound. Jon bit back a hiss. Ser Vardis delivered Jon to the Tower of the Hand, where Maester Coleman fretted like a mother hen and forcibly set stitches anew in the reopened cut below Jon's collarbone. Pain bled bright dots across Jon's sight, yet thoughts whirled faster than any fever. When Coleman finished, Jon gently dismissed him, then called for parchment and wax. He wrote the first letter to Lord Tywin directly, each word carved in firm strokes. An invitation to King's Landing under safe conduct, 2,000 swords allowed, gold outriders barred. A place among 7 judges. A promise that no verdict be rendered in his absence if he answered within a fortnight. The second letter summoned Lord Eddard Stark to sit likewise. The third to Lady Olenna Tyrell in Highgarden. For Mace's pen hand was slower than his mother's wits, and Jon needed wits now. To Balon Greyjoy he wrote with equal courtesy, "Bring no fleet beyond 5 longships." To Jon Connington, still exiled but rumored near Lys, he dared not write. Some stones need not be overturned yet. Scrolls multiplied, quills dulled. Across the night he sealed each with the Arryn falcon flying high, then slept a few short hours, dreamless but for the echo of steel on steel. 2 dawns later, the mud gate lifted for a column of northern riders, direwolf banners snapping in brisk river wind. Eddard Stark rode at their head, gray eyes shadowed by sleepless travel yet alert as any watchman's. At his side loped Grey Wind, now near fully grown, each bound of its long legs calculated, silent. Small folk lining the guttered streets pressed back in awe. Many had heard rumor of wolves from Winterfell but never seen one so fierce. Jon met Ned in the yard amid a flurry of commands. Livestock being herded into storerooms, chests of grain stacked in case of siege. They clasped forearms, both wincing at bruises and bone-deep weariness. "You look older than when last we parted," Ned said softly. "You smell of smoke and horse," Jon returned, managing a thin smile. Then both men sobered. "I feared you would not arrive before Tywin. I rode through 3 nights." Ned's gaze swept the bustling keep. "Is it true, then? Joffrey is bastard-born." Jon motioned toward the tower. "Walk with me, and you'll hear all." As they climbed, rapid footfalls behind announced Maester Luwin of Winterfell had joined them, pockets clinking with traveling files. Jon welcomed his presence. A second honest maester might temper Pycelle's Lannister leanings. Inside Jon's solar, door barred, Ned listened as Jon recounted everything. Bran's witness, the poison, the rampart struggle, Barristan's duel. When Jon spoke of Robert's edict stripping Cersei of crown and shipping her children south as wards, Ned's mouth tightened. "My girls are in the Queen's care no longer," he said. "Thank the gods." Jon blinked. "Your daughters?" "Catelyn sent them south months past, hoping for courtly graces. They remain in Maegor's holdfast. Sansa weeps day and night for Prince Joffrey's disgrace. Arya flits in shadows, threatening knights with sticks. I've heard little else." Jon's heart sank. Amid dragons of greater scale, he had forgotten smaller souls who might burn first. "They will be safe. Robert is no monster. Robert drinks." Ned's lips thinned. "He may keep them safe, but what of Tywin's knives?" "Then we keep the Lannisters penned," Jon said, "and trust in truth to hold walls." Ned's eyes were winter gray. Truth seldom stops arrows. Jon touched the fresh stitches at his shoulder. "Yet lies breed the hands that loose them." Ned accepted that with a grave nod. "Very well. I will sit as judge, but my first duty is to my blood. I ride to the holdfast tonight and take my daughters under my own guard." Jon agreed. For days later, banners rose on horizon ridges, bright splashes of crimson and gold beneath summer sun. The Lion of Lannister, 2,000 strong at head, with smaller knights trailing. Swifts, Marbrands, Sarsfields, scores more. Dust clouds thickened. The distant clang of harness drifted over wheat fields east of the city. Robert met them not with spears but with parchment. Lord Tywin crossed the bridge of ships at dusk. 50 knights filed behind. The Red Keep's main gate swung open upon a silent yard. No jeering crowds, only a line of 20 airy men bearing torches. Tywin dismounted where Jon waited, Stannis at his shoulder. Tywin's hair shone pale silver under torchlight, yet the lines of his face were iron-pressed. "A warm welcome," he said dryly. Jon bowed. "We keep hospitality though storms brew. His Grace bids you dine before council." Tywin's gaze flicked to the torches, to Vardy's Aegon's men above on ramparts. Bows relaxed but ready. He inclined his head once. "Lead on." Dinner in the Queen's ballroom held 50 seats yet felt tight as a trap. Robert presided, wine by the pitcher yet scarcely touched. He spoke little, leaving conversation to Jon, who guided topics from harvest yields to Lyseni silk taxes, anything but children or crowns. Tywin answered in clipped precision, each word a note struck on bronze, ringing clear, devoid of warmth. When plates cleared and lords dispersed to chambers, Tywin lingered. "I wish to see my daughter." Robert's jaw worked. "Morning. Guards will escort." Tywin's eyes glinted like lamplit ice. "A father thanks you." He left. Robert exhaled as though lifting a boar's carcass from his chest. Would that the stranger himself stood across that table. I'd fear him less. Jon managed a weary smile. The stranger rarely sues at table. Tywin sues, but his lawsuits cost blood. They parted. Trial preparations consumed a fortnight. Envoys galloped down every king's road. Ravens beat wings through every sky lane. Lords answered. Lady Olenna came in a litter of golden roses, her grandson Loras beside. Balon sent his brother Victarion, bristling, armored in blackened squid-shaped plates. Doran Martell, gout-bound, dispatched his fiery young niece Arryn, whose jeweled spear points drew curious stares from small folk in Flea Bottom. Even Hoster Tully, weakened by strangling gut, rode slow but steady, flanked by Brinden Blackfish and 200 river men. Only the Vale remained empty. Lisa's letters pled fear for her fragile boy, yet Jon privately suspected the Falcon Eyrie felt safer perched far above these storms. 7 high judges gathered under the sign of the Seven, though Stannis insisted the judgment belonged to men, not gods. The High Septon presided, gemstone crown wobbling whenever he inclined to cough. Robert relinquished gavel and crown for the day, sitting silent behind a lattice screen so as not to taint verdict by kingly glare. The throne room transformed into a hall of justice, benches for witnesses, rails for small folk. Even the dragon skull niches glimmered with silver candles, their eerie firelight flickering across hollow eye sockets as though the beasts watched proceedings with ancient hunger. Cersei entered robed in black, clasped by a lion brooch of jet. No crown, no jewels, a widow's garb for a husband still living. Her steps were measured. Each click of heel on marble rang with resolve. Jaime entered later, chains removed but sword absent, white cloak draped awkwardly over golden hand. His face bore fresh-lanced bruises, yet his smile was devil-may-care, thrown like dice across the council of stone faces. Accusations were read: incest, adultery, conspiracy to murder Bran Stark, treason against the crown. Ser Barristan stood to testify first, account of duel, of confession by sword. Jaime laughed at that. "Steel does not weigh truth," he quipped, earning frowns from Tyrell seats. Then came Grand Maester Pycelle, quaking voice recounting his concoction of drafts for Jon Arryn and the strange symptoms of sudden collapse. Under Ned's hawk-hard gaze, Pycelle admitted he had delivered a poppy tincture to the Queen's apartments upon her request, to ease her lady's monthly pains, the very week of Jon's poisoning. Tywin's nostrils flared at that detail. Otherwise he remained stone still, only the occasional tap of finger upon armrest betraying thought. Next, they brought forth the tower handmaids who accompanied the Queen at Winterfell. Jane Poole, wretchedly pale. One of old Nan's granddaughters, a shy North girl named Beth. They told of late-night visits to the highest tower, of hearing voices, too, sometimes moans, though they spoke such words trembling, fearing reprisal. Most damning of all were Bran's memory fragments, only beginning to surface as the boy regained speech weeks earlier, convalescing in Winterfell. Letters from Maester Luwin, sworn before the Heart Tree and copied by his seal, recounted Bran's slow words. "I saw the Queen climbing with Ser Jaime. They pushed me. When the letters were read aloud, you could hear mice breath within the throne room." Jaime's smile thinned to a single straight line. Cersei's mask cracked at last. Lips parted, eyes widened, and for the first time tears slipped unchecked down her cheeks. Whether they were tears of shame, fear for her child, or rage at being unmasked, none could say. She rose unbidden, voice slicing the hush. "I loved," she cried, hands outstretched toward the judge's bench. "I loved my brother, and in loving him I wronged my husband. But love is no treason." "The law says differently," grunted Stannis. "The law," Cersei spat, "has been written by men who bedded their sisters in ancient days and claimed dragons made it holy." Gasps, murmurs. The High Septon rapped Cain for silence. Yet Cersei pressed on. "Yes, I bore children of Jaime's seed, but in them I saw no shame. I saw 2 lions and 1 cub golden as dawn, and I swore to raise them strong, to protect them from Robert's drunken cruelties. Is that treason? Tell me, Lord Stannis, did you never dream of a world where your daughter might reign safe?" Color climbed Stannis's cheekbones. The hall stirred at this unexpected barb. Olenna Tyrell leaned toward her grandson, whispered, no doubt something sharp. Loras's lips twitched. Tywin Lannister at last spoke, his voice cold iron. "My daughter confesses to adultery. The rest, push and poison, remains unproven." Ned rose, gray eyes glacial. I have seen my son's body and the bruise upon his temple. Somebody struck him, and someone cut Jon Arryn, Stannis added, tapping the wound in Jon's shoulder with a blunt fingertip. Steel and poison together. Lord Victarion snorted, black mustache quivering. In my islands we drown such debates. A confessed lawbreaker dies. Talk of pushes matters little. The High Septon cleared throat. By law of gods and men, incest and adultery with a sworn Kingsguard are crimes punishable by death. Yet the king may commute sentence. Robert shifted behind the screen but spoke not. Jon Arryn, though not among judges, stood. Her confession spares the realm needless blood. If Queen Cersei swears her children will relinquish all claim and live as honored wards afar, mercy may serve better than heads on spikes. The hall erupted. Shouts from Tyrell, cries of mercy from some, snarls of no yield from others. Tywin's eyes narrowed, measuring possibilities. Olenna licked lips, ever the gardener pruning weeds for roses. Cersei's gaze latched on Jon. You ask me to deny them crown, to see my sons grow not as kings but as caged birds in some cold eyrie? Better caged than slaughtered, Ned said quietly. She glared, then slowly bent knee. I will swear, if Jaime is spared exile, let him join the Night's Watch. He will guard the realm he once served. Murmurs surged again. Jaime stiffened at the prospect of Black Cloak. But Ned inclined head. Stannis shrugged. Tyrells exchanged glances. At last Lord Tywin rose. If my daughter yields her children's claim and my son rides north to guard your snows, House Lannister's honor remains stained. Yet we are not fools. We accept. Then the gods deliver verdict, the High Septon intoned. He bowed to Robert's screen. Your grace, mercy or death? Robert's massive form leaned forward. Mercy, he said, voice hoarse. Let Cersei live out her days in Casterly Rock, never to set foot at court. Let her children dwell at Storm's End under wardship of Lord Renly until they reach age of majority, thereafter free to sail or wed as they choose, but never to claim throne. Jaime Lannister rides tonight for the Wall. Should he take up sword south again, his head's forfeit. So is the bargain. The High Septon lifted hands skyward. So witnessed. Cersei bowed her head, tears shining. Jaime stared at his sister, grief warring with pride. Then he wiped blood from split lip, squared shoulders, and accepted black fate with a shrug as if it were only another suit of armor. Tywin's gaze rested on Jon Arryn across the hall. A quiet nod, acknowledgement of duel won not by sword but by law. Yet in that nod lay no warmth. The city exhaled a tense breath. Flea Bottom erupted in rumor. King deposes queen. Crown princes stripped of birth. Gold cloaks deserted by dozens, some fleeing to Lannisport to sell tales, others joining Sellsword companies bound for Lys. Robert trebled airy men at gates, posted Wolf's Head sentries at Maegor's Holdfast and within the Tower of the Hand, certain now that Littlefinger's silks hid knives of deeper sharpness. On the night Jaime departed, Jon watched from a parapet as a column of black and white riders wound toward the northern road, torches bobbing like fireflies. Ned stood beside him, direwolf cloak billowing. He will not enjoy the Wall, Ned observed, but he may yet serve with honor. Or he may bend brothers to Lannister cause, Jon murmured. Pray your kinsman Mormont watches close. I shall right him, Ned promised, and send more men north, from Winterfell and the Eyrie. Jon inclined his head. Pain flared in the healing shoulder, but he breathed through it, feeling the first real calm since his collapse. The realm breathes still, he said. For now, Ned agreed. Tywin's pride is sated but not slain. He will crave recompense. Then we rebuild walls thicker, Jon replied, and we arm the people with truth. Truth of fair taxes, justice quick and clean, or hunts kept short. He smiled wryly. Ned's laugh was a quiet snowdrift. You ask much of Robert. We shall convince him. Jon felt wind tug at his cloak, carrying scent of fresh straw from stables, sea salt from the bay, a hint of lavender from gardens below, recently pruned. Life amid scars. He looked east where dawn would rise, though at this hour sky still stretched indigo, flecked with brittle stars. "I have thought long on the seed I sowed," he mused. "Truth can be a bitter root, but perhaps, tended well, it gives fruit sweet enough for grandsons yet unborn." Ned rested calloused hand on Jon's good shoulder. "Your sons and mine will taste it." Below, the gates groaned shut behind Jaime's company. Somewhere out in the blackness, Lannister lions prowled for vengeance, Greyjoy krakens plotted, and across narrow sea dragons stirred in whispered stories. But upon the ramparts of the Red Keep 2 old friends stood shoulder to shoulder, guardians of a fragile dawn not yet broken. Weeks turned. Cersei sailed west under guard, bitter winds snapping the crimson sails of her household barge as it vanished beyond the sunset sea horizon. Her children rode south to Storm's End, weeping though attendants whispered tales of bright beaches, ponies, and fools' markets to ease their grief. The city settled. Trade resumed, ships from Pentos laden with spice, Myrish lenscrafters hawking wonders, laughing once more at gates. Yet in silent corridors of the Tower of the Hand, Jon worked without cease. He ordered a new census of Crown's debts, and when Littlefinger balked, Robert granted the hand power to audit every ledger. Tongues wagged that Baelish paled like curdled milk the day Jon's scribes lifted the false columns and found whole coffers missing. The master of coin vanished thereafter, slipping from the city on a fast galley bound for parts unknown. Only a mocking note remained, sealed with mockingbird sigil. "You asked for ladders, mind the broken rungs." Coleman once more urged Jon to rest, but Jon marshaled scribes, redrafted port tariffs, proposed a grain duty to refill granaries. He and Ned oversaw new appointments. Ser Garland Tyrell to command city garrison. Davos Seaworth raised to master of ships. A Myrish lawyer named Belicho Pinimian put to task rewriting trade charters in plainer script. For the first time in memory, the small council meetings ended before midday, tasks assigned, pages rustling like sails catching steady wind. But not all breezes were gentle. On a fog-drowned morning, ravens arrived from Riverrun. Lisa Arryn had sealed the bloody gate, declaring the Eyrie neutral in all wars, refusing to send her son to foster at court. She accused Jon of betrayal, would cast our sweet Robin into lion's jaws. The letter stung, but Jon knew he could not ride north. Not yet. Nor force a mother parted from brother and sister to trust his newfound unity with former foes. For now, he let the veil cling to its clouds. Worse tidings came from the Riverlands. Marauders wearing burnt lion sigils raided Tully villages, citing tax disputes, likely rogue bannermen emboldened by rumors of Lannister humiliation. Jon dispatched riders to Tywin demanding redress. Tywin replied with terse vow to punish any knight proven guilty, yet offered no proof he sought them. Tension gnawed. In the south, Balon Greyjoy withdrew Victarion's envoy before trial ended, insulted by the leniency shown Lannisters. Rumors of shipbuilding on Pike trickled via Lyseni merchants. Davos reported 15 longships launching within a month. More keels laid, like pebbles dropped into pond. Each ripple of discontent widened, crossing Eyrie, Iron Isles, Dorne nursing old Martell wounds, Old Town whispering of prophecy. Jon felt the weight, aware his health retreated, wound healed but heart weary, nights broken by coughing fits. Yet Quill and Raven remained his sword and shield. One evening as dusk painted clouds violet, Ned found Jon perched at window, gazing over Blackwater where warships bobbed like polished beetles. Candlelight etched lines deeper at Jon's eyes. "Your parchment war tires you," Ned said. "A war fought in ink spares children's steel," Jon answered hoarsely. "But yes, it eats marrow." Ned offered a small clay cup. "Tea from Maester Luwin. Roots of the wolfsbane, milder than nightshade, strengthens heart." Jon sipped, tasted bitter earth. "My thanks." They stood in companionable silence. Below, a chorus of crickets began. "You should return to the Vale come autumn," Ned said at last. "Let Maester Coleman watch you in clean mountain air. The kingdom will stand." Jon smiled faintly. "And let you drown in Robert's cups and Tywin's schemes alone?" We have Stannis, and Davos and Barristan, and even Renly's easy charm. The realm can spare your quill for one winter." Jon leaned on sill. Perhaps. One winter. He closed eyes, feeling wind lift gray hair. In distant memory, he saw a young Robert laughing atop Storm's End battlements. Jon beside him, Eddard on the other side. A band of brothers before crowns, before betrayals. Seasons had scoured them, yet tonight the wind smelled same as that youthful spring. Salt, pine, promise. "Let us drink," Jon said suddenly, "not to forget ills, but to mark triumph won without spilling rivers of blood."
Ned Chuckled.
Catelyn would scold, but one cup. They found Robert already roistering with Davos in the solar. Wine flowed, though not as wild as former feasts. The king's laughter was smaller, but his eyes clearer. They toasted to peace, to children safe, to houses mended. They did not toast dragons, ironborn, nor specters beyond the wall. Those would find them in time regardless. Before the last of summer's heat faded, Jon journeyed beyond city walls for the first time since poison clenched his gut. He rode with Ned and Ser Barristan to inspect fresh levees drilling in fields east of the Blackwater. 10 companies of small folk, spears too long for some, breastplates dented from prior wars, but their eyes bright. They marched in lines, proud to defend king rather than bleed for some far-flung lord's quarrel. Jon's heart warmed. Returning at dusk, he paused on Rosby Road to watch the Sunset Guild kings landing in molten gold. A city battered but still upright, towers sharp against blood-red sky. Bells chimed evening prayer, and in that moment, Jon Arryn felt the realm's pulse. Weak, strained, yet beating. "I think we bought her a future," he murmured. Ned followed his gaze. "We'll keep buying day by day." Jon nodded. Pain flared sharp, but he inhaled, letting lungs swell with hot, dry grass, with life. "Day by day," he echoed, and the falcon of House Arryn soared unseen through that dying light. Wings spread across a sky cleansed, however briefly, of shadow. While below, men of honor, friendship, and hard-won truth turned their mounts toward the walls they vowed to guard. Evening's first star shimmered above them, witness to bargains made in steel and ink, shining faint yet steadfast. An unblinking promise at the edge of gathering dark.